Hey everybody, happy Tutorial Thursday. Yes, it is nice to see you all for a noon stream on a Thursday. I've missed you all terribly because it's been a whole week, 2 weeks, I don't know, it's been a minute since I did a Thursday stream, so I'm so happy to see everybody out there in the wilds of the internet today. I hope you guys are having a great day. I don't really want to know what temperature it is wherever Lori is today. I'm super happy because it is sunshiny and like 75 here in Dallas. So that's my idea of ideal winter weather, just saying. This is why I live in Texas. So today's tutorial is a pretty simple one. This one, I mean, I guarantee you we're going to be done with this before one, no problem. Basic wire ring. So, number one, great use of a single bead that you really want to feature. Okay, so you have a beautiful gemstone, you have a beautiful glass bead, you have something that you really want to give a primo spot in a piece of jewelry. Making a ring out of it is fantastic. Number two, seriously, these things take like 15 minutes to make. Not even kidding. So you can have your entire Christmas list done in like under 3 hours. I'm not even kidding. Ah! Lori! I said I didn't want to know. It's -5 degrees Celsius in Edmonton. And now I'm going to take a breath and relax my lungs and remember that it's 75 degrees outside here in Dallas, Texas. Oh my god. -5. So most of you probably know that I'm from Wisconsin originally, which is not obviously as far north as Edmonton, but is significantly, of course, farther north than Dallas. And I have blackout dates, like when I moved back here to Dallas and I was, and it was in my early 30s, and I was like, you know what, family, like, this is where I live now. I live in Texas. And I will visit you, but, this is where I live. And I established blackout dates. Like, I will not come and visit you, barring major family emergencies, anytime between November and March, because the weather is horrifying. And legitimate jacket unzipped weather, spoken like a true northerner, Lori. You could argue that point with any number of Texans, where they would say it's not jacket, it's like onesie and hoodie and parka and like muckluck weather. So it's really all a matter of perspective. But yeah, true to my blackout dates, the last time I was in Wisconsin in the winter was unfortunately when my grandfather was in the hospital shortly before he passed. And I was there for a week in February, and the day that I left, it was -19 Fahrenheit. Yep. Yeah, that's what I said. It sucked. Literally the only thing that will get me into that kind of weather is some kind of, legitimate family emergency. And we're not talking like, great Aunt Ida is having the vapors. I don't have a great Aunt Ida. Also, I don't really know what the vapors are, but seriously, like, can't do it, won't do it. So that's my rant on weather. Now let's talk about today's project. So again, basic wire rings, very, very simple. You only need a few supplies, and you don't need a lot of tools either. So as far as supplies go, you're gonna need wire. Now you can use 20 or 22 gauge wire for this project. I'm using 22 gauge gold filled because 22 gauge will fit more beads than 20 gauge. This is something, because if you look at the project, the wire does actually go through the bead. The bead's not on a separate wire. It's the same wire through the whole project. So you're gonna find more pretty beads that fit on 22 than fit on 20. But of course, then you've got to take into account, for the ring shank and whatnot, that you're using a thinner wire, so you have to do a little bit more wrapping. So 22 gauge gold filled is what I'm using today, and then a bead. I've got a lovely little bowl of. Wow, I didn't turn on any of my lights. Good job, Allison. Let's try this again. There we go. So I got a lovely little bowl of moonstone beads, so I'm going to pick one for my ring today. As far as tools go, you're going to need your pliers. That's going to be just your basics. That's your round nose pliers, chain nose pliers, and wire cutters. And you are also going to need a ring mandrel. If you don't have a ring mandrel, which is a really good tool to have, so if it's in your shop budget, you know, investing in, if you like rings, investing in a steel ring mandrel is definitely worth it. But if you don't have that in your budget, you can figure out what is the diameter of the ring size that you need, want, wear most often, and you can go get a dowel that's the same diameter. So ring mandrel or dowel, and that's really it. So I'm going to start with my 22 gauge wire, and I'm going to cut myself 2 feet of it. Yes, I realize that's a lot, but I want to make sure I have enough to do my ring shank, make everything nice and sturdy. So 2 feet of 22 gauge wire. Can you do this with a thinner wire like a 24 or a 26? You absolutely can. Again, it just is it becomes a question of, you know, the ring shank, which the shank is the bottom part of the ring. It's the part that basically goes around your finger. And so it's just a question of how many times do you need to wrap it around to make that fairly sturdy, because like once around with 24, 26 gauge, you know, not really sturdy, you know, 2 or 3 times around, much better. So you just need to make sure you account for enough wire to make that sturdy. I'm gonna find a moonstone in my dish that will fit on this 22 gauge wire. Ooh, will the big one fit? There's a big one. Does it fit? It fits. Yay. Okay, so I found my moonstone, and my moonstone does in fact fit on my 22 gauge wire. So again, I've got 2 feet of 22 gauge wire, 1 moonstone bead. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bead and I'm going to pull it to the center of my wire. Am I going to measure that? Of course not. Hell no. I'm sorry, but anybody who's been hanging out on the Beading Dreams stream should know by now that I'm not going to measure something like that. Really, people? So I've got it approximately in the middle of my wire. This is where I'm going to grab my ring mandrel. Seriously, this is a 15-minute project. I'm not even kidding. So what size, oops, there's no other. Okay, what size do I want to do? Obviously, if you're making this custom, hopefully you know the ring size of the person for whom you're making it. If you're not making it custom, if you're making this, say, for spec, if you're doing holiday markets, or if you're just, you know, kind of trying to fling some rings at some people and hoping that some of them will fit, 6, 7, and 8 are going to be your best sizes to focus on. Those are the ones that are the most common. For women, if you're making rings for men, then you're more likely to find buyers who have sizes 8, 9, and 10. So it just kind of depends on your clientele, your target audience, etc. I'm going to go ahead and go for a size 7 today. So on my ring mandrel, that is this one right here. And I will say that this is when I oftentimes wish I had a third hand that would extend from my stomach and help me hold my mandrel. Since I don't have a third hand, I'm going to rest it delicately on my chesticles. So I'm going to put that on size 7. Oh no, Christmas music is on. I'm sorry, Ace. Yeah, we're playing Christmas music here at the Beading Dreams as well, because it's the mom designated rules of, you know, starting the day after Thanksgiving until New Year's Day, we have to play Christmas music. And I'm confessing to you, internet, I hate Christmas music. I hate it, I hate it, I hate it so much. It's probably because I've been in retail since I was 15 years old, and there's some kind of just knee-jerk association with Christmas music and people being nasty. Like, definitely clients in retail get meaner on the average the closer we get to Christmas. Like, I mean, Christmas spirit and whatnot aside, like, people just get nasty. They're hurried, they're harried, they're, you know, impatient, especially to retail employees. So here's my soapbox on behalf of myself and my employees is, this holiday season, please be kind, be patient, be generous, be gracious to your retail employees, because guess what? We're having just as bad, if not a worse holiday than you are. And I guarantee you probably at least one person has yelled at us every single day between now and Christmas. So appreciate your retail salespeople, be nice to them. We appreciate each and every customer who is kind to us. Also, you know, hashtag pro tip, the nicer you are to your retail salespeople, the kinder and more generous they will be to you as far as discounts and extra services. See, there's a little Elfie voice. I don't know if you can hear her behind the curtain, but seriously, like, you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar, especially at this time of the year. Like, be nice to us, we'll be nice to you. I probably didn't need to say that to anybody who's actually watching this stream, because I know y'all are decent humans and you know that, but I felt the need to say it anyway. Okay, so right? Spread the word, tell your friends. All right, so we have our bead, which is on our wire, and it's sitting at my size 7 on my ring mandrel. That's right there. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my 2 wires, I'm gonna bring them underneath my mandrel and across the top. And again, like I said, this is when I really wish I had an extra hand. I would extend from my chest to hold this, but I don't. So, okay, so what I have now is I've got 3 wires on the front, 1 holding my bead, 2 that are empty, and I've got 3 wires on the back. I'm going to do this one more time so that I've got 5 wires in each spot. So again, I'm going to take each wire, I'm going to bring it around, so if you have a proper jeweler's bench, there's actually a slot for your ring mandrel, which is awesome. You can also clamp it in a vise so you don't have to, you know, balance it on your boobs while you're doing this, but I am here to show you that you actually can do this without any of those fancy tools. And so there we go. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 with my bead, and then there's 5 underneath as well. Now I'm going to take my 2 wire ends and I'm going to start wrapping them around my bead. So I'm just going to go this way. So I'm just making this essentially a spiral. I do want to try and keep that straight. So each wire is just going to rotate around my center bead. Like so. Once you've got a couple of rounds done, it's going to be a lot easier to do. And you're just going to keep rotating until literally you run out of wire. Now you need to have enough wire to anchor, so I'm going to stop and take it off my mandrel when I've got about 1 inch of wire left on each side. And then I'm going to take that wire and I'm just going to wrap it through the center of my ring. Grab the chain nose. And just wrap it nice and tightly around that side. So the goal here, of course, is to sort of bind everything nice and tightly together. Now, when I do that, this oftentimes will happen. So before I do the other side, I'm just going to put that back down on my ring mandrel. Now, let it be noted that now I'm at a size 7.5. So this is something that tends to happen when you're making rings, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, whatever, is if you're not paying attention, which I wasn't because I was talking to you all, your sizes tend to shift. So it's nice to have, you know, a range of sizes that's appropriate. But if you were absolutely had to be at, say, a size 7, what you could do is you could take, after you anchored this wire off here, you could take this and you could take it across here. And what that would do is that would, and I'll show you that in a second, it would take up a little bit of space. It would take your size down. So once again, right now we're at a 7.5, I believe. Yeah, okay, so right now this ring that I was going for size 7 is a size 7.5. Again, this is not uncommon when you're making rings. Like when you're making wire rings, I feel like sometimes it's actually less common to come out at the size you were going for than at some wacko random size that's either a half a size too small or a half a size too big. But again, this is a really good fix for too big. Too small, a lot of times you can put it on your mandrel and you can actually stretch it down and make it a little bit bigger. But if you need to make it smaller, okay, so again, I have 7.5 is where I'm at, 7 is where I wanted to be. So I've got this wire, I've wrapped it around to bind this side of my shank, and then I'm going to take it across and I'm going to bind it back across the other side. So what that's going to do is it's just going to take up a little bit of extra space on the inside of the shank right there. And now there we go, I'm back at a size 7. Last thing I have to do, of course, is cut off my extra wires. Easy peasy. So I've got my one wire here from my one side of binding, trim that off, and then the other side of the one that I brought across isn't actually long enough to need to be cut off, so I'm just going to take my chain nails and I'm going to press those down like so. Since it's a ring, you just want to make sure that it doesn't feel sharp at all, and there you go. Basic wire ring, super easy gift, really simple, literally 15-minute project, I kid you not. Nice sturdy band in the back. We've got 4 22 gauge wires and a nice frame for our moonstone beads. So I will say that I love this with any kind of a flat rectangular or oval shaped bead. Anything round works well. Coins work great. You know, if you just have one special bead in your stash, this is a really great project for it. So that's it. Yes, it's a super fast lunchtime stream. Thank you so much for hanging out with us on the Beading Dreams stream for 20 minutes this lunch hour on Thursday. Of course, I'm Allison from Beading Dreams in Dallas, Texas. We'll be back on this channel, twitch.tv/Beading Dream this evening at 6 p.m. with this project. This is going to be our Torch Thursday project, the conclusion of the project I started last evening, our stamped, sawed, and soldered pendant. So I'm going to have a fantastic Thursday, and we'll see you all back on this channel, twitch.tv/Beading Dream this evening at 6 p.m. Central Time. Thanks, everyone. Bye.